Okay, so we're going to be doing our Chapter 1 constructions, copying a segment, copying an angle, and bisecting an angle. So the first one here, copy the segment using a compass and straight edge. We're going to construct a line segment. And you can see step 1, 2, and 3 on this one, very simple steps. So here's our, like AB is the segment that we would be copying. We have two that we're going to copy. We're going to copy the one that's here, AB, which is pretty much the same kind of one there. And I have another one over here, it's a little longer, that we'll copy as well. So the very first thing is to first just draw a point, and we can label it C, and then draw a straight line using our straight edge. That's the very first thing. So let's do that first up here, and we're going to do it right next to, get my compass out of the way, right next to the this one here, AB. So I'm going to draw a point, so just put a point down, just to draw a point. And you can do it with the pencil of the compass, it's fine. You can use it with that compass. That's where you would want to, hold that compass when you're drawing a point. Or you can use your own pen or pencil there to draw a point. And then using a straight edge, I have to use a ruler here for my straight edge. And we get it perfectly horizontal. Try to get it exactly horizontal, 0 degrees. That should be it. There it is. Okay, move it. And I'm just going to draw a line segment here that has to be longer than AB. That's the only thing. So we just got to make sure that our line that we draw from this point here that we'll label C is longer than the one we're copying. So I'll start that end point and draw a line. That's definitely plenty. Okay, more than enough right there. I definitely could eyeball that and know that that's longer. Okay, second step. So that was just step number 1. Let's label that one C right there, just like it says down here. Step number 2 is we're now going to take the compass and we're going to measure the distance basically with the compass from A to B. So put your point of your compass, put the point of the compass on like A, you could do it that way, and then the pencil you want to put on B. You just want to get that distance like right there. That's about it right there, from A to B. Just want to get the distance, and we're not going to really do anything. It does show that you can make a little mark there. That's fine. We can make a little mark here at B. Go ahead and do that. That's fine. That's what we want to do over here on C. So you need to make sure you maintain. That's why this can't be floppy. You can't have your compass be floppy. It has to be able to maintain its shape so that when you move your compass from point A to point C, put the metal part on C now, maintaining that distance, we're going to make a little arc here to show where the B would be, or where that distance is. The same distance as A to B is now from C to this mark here. Okay, we're just going to draw a point. I'm just going to put a point right there. I'll just point that and call it D. There's my D. And that's it. We've copied the segment. So step 2 was to measure the distance. Step 3 was to copy that distance over here, and then just labeling it D. So with your protractor, it does have a ruler there at the bottom. Go ahead and measure. Mine doesn't here, so I have my ruler. Go ahead and measure the distance from A to B. There's 0. And you can kind of see where that would be, how long that is. So how long that is, if I do that on here, because it's not going to be the same as on my board, but if I measure with the protractor, I can put, now if you put the very edge on, that's fine. I usually like going from the 1 and then just using that on, so I put 1 at A. I can see in inches how far that is. It looks like that's just a little more than ½ an inch, slightly more. So that could maybe be a ½ an inch. That could be about, every little mark is a 1/16 of an inch. So 1/16 and 2/16, 3/16, and we got 4, 8, 9. So that's about 9/16. I would say that's probably the most accurate, is 9/16. Go ahead and mark that down there on your paper. And then do the same thing over here and just double check from point C to point D is the same. It's about 9/16, or at least about from the 1/2 to the 9/16 mark. That's what you want to see from right here. So I would take this over here and measure this, and just make sure it's about the same as the same I got here from A to B. Just use that same protractor right there. Go over and measure from C to D, and see that you should have about 9/16 on this one as well. So that's about 9/16 of an inch. Little 2 marks is the inch mark. All right, we're going to do the same thing with this segment. Let's just label A and B. So I'll put A here and B over here. It's a little bit longer. Let's move my protractor out of the way for now. Don't need that yet. And we want to start with our point. So just right underneath this A and B, you're going to copy the segment here. Just start with point C, draw a point. You can use your pen or pencil. And then use your straight edge of the protractor. Try to get it as straight as possible or horizontal as possible going across there. And just got to make sure it is longer. Okay, so you could tell the distance, just got to go longer than where B is at. So as you draw in that first horizontal segment going across, just make sure it goes longer than B. Then you'll take your compass and measure the distance on this one from A to B. So you'll move that, measure that all the way out there from A to B, and then just copy or keep that measurement and then put the point from A, move it to, you can call it point C down here again, and then make your little mark so you can see where D would be at. Label it D, and that's it. Just double check your measurements. Measure this AB segment, measure your CD segment here to see that they are the same. They should be congruent. I'll give you a second to measure that and do this one down here. And if you need if your compass ends up getting loose, just bring your compass up here so I can do a quick tighten for you. If you need it tightened, just bring it up to me and I'll tighten it for you. Hi, good morning.
Is the card for Mr. Zimmerman?
Oh.
You could sign it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, so we put a point there. We can label it C. We're going to draw our segment along here. This goes here. You can see from here. It's almost. There we go. Just need to make sure it goes past where B was at. Yep, that's definitely past the B. And I take my compass. I need to measure this off here. Let's go further that way. So I'm stretching this one longer. Yours is not going to be that far. I think when I do that one, it's about to here, so it's not that far. That one's definitely a little bit further from there. So point and point. That looks about right. And just keep that same distance. You don't have to make a mark here because the one you need to make is down here. So once you make that, you can see where that would be where D is at. So this is D down here. And you just want to measure. So your measurement, as you measure this one here, it should be about, let's see what it is. And you measured it. So it's past an inch. It's almost 1.5 inches. Most accurate though would be that little line right before the ½ inch mark, which would be a 1/16. We can see how many 1/16ths that is. How many is that? So what'd you say, 1 and how many 1/16ths would this be? 1 and how many 1/16ths? What's our numerator? Just count the little marks. How many marks, T? How many? Well, this one was 9 here. That was 1 on the other side of the half. So 8 is half. 1 before 8 would be 7, right? Should be at 7/16ths. That's what I'm seeing when I measure it. 1 full inch, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I get to that dot. There you should see it's 7/16ths of an inch. Little inch marks there. So you just double check that this here would also be 1 and about 7/16ths to see how accurate you were at measuring that. You can put a point here to make that point. Let's also put congruent marks down. So this segment here, AB up here, 1 congruent mark, and I'll put a 1 congruent mark there because those should be congruent as we copied them. This one I'll put a 2 congruent hash mark, and I'll put a 2 congruent hash mark down on this one to show that those two are congruent because we copied this angle to this angle. They should be the same measure, and this one should be same as 1 and 7/16ths. You just want to see how accurate you were with that construction. So if you're a long ways off, then obviously you'd want to fix it. If you're like within a 1/16th of an inch or so, that's close enough. You're fairly accurate. All right, let's move on to our next one, which is the copying an angle. So down below. Okay, so our 4 steps on this one. Starting with an angle, and we have an angle over here that we're going to use to work with. So we're going to start with this angle, and the very first step is the same step as our segment one, is we need to put a point and then a straight line. So basically we're trying to first construct one side of the angle, which is this horizontal side. So you're just going to start by, and you're going to need to leave enough space here, putting a point. I'll draw a point down here. So let's actually label that A right there. That's our vertex A, so angle A is that one. We want to bring it down quite a bit, down to about here, towards the bottom of this box here. And then just draw a straight, using our straight edge, as horizontal as you possibly can. Yeah, so right below this one, you're going to draw another one here. On the bottom of the protractor. So yeah, the bottom straight edge of the protractor, right. So use the straight edge, which is your bottom of protractor. I'm going to use this, I have to use this to draw mine with. Can't draw it with a protractor on this screen. And you just want to draw as straight as you possibly can, just one direction from that point. You don't want to go through that point, okay, because that's a vertex point. That's an end point. And it doesn't matter that it has to be longer. It doesn't have to be longer where that arrow is, because that arrow says it keeps going, okay. So it could be shorter than that arrow or longer than that arrow or about the same as that arrow. That's fine, okay. So there's my straight line going across there. That's just the first step, which is the same first step as our last one. Now in the next step though, we use our compass, and we're going to put the point of our compass on this vertex of A, let's go ahead and put D down here just so it's the same thing as what it's showing over here. That's our point D, so when we're talking about D. So I'm going to take my compass and put the compass point on A up here. And right now mine's pretty wide. I'm going to shorten this up some. There we go. Bring that inside the angle, on the interior of the angle. And we just want to make an arc where that arc goes through both sides of this angle. Okay, we need to see where the intersection, now that the distance right now doesn't matter. So everybody's could have a little bit of a different distance on their compass. What does matter is that your point is on the vertex and that you go through both of those and then you maintain that distance. Okay, don't change the distance now that you've made that arc up here. We're going to take that now point and bring that point down to D. That's what we're showing down here, and making that same arc. But here's where we do have to go far enough. So let's just say that this angle is about 45 degrees perhaps. It looks like it could be close to that. We want to go past 45 degrees here with this arc. So as I put my point there, I'm starting just below the line that I drew, so I can get, as soon as I go here, there's one intersection on that side, but now I got to go long enough past 45 degrees. I might want to go closer to where 90 degrees might be, which 90 would be up here. So you can go closer to where 90 degrees is. That way you know you're going to be okay. Okay? You know you're fine. There, you know that this angle is going to fit now within the 90 degrees. So now that you have that arc, we need to now take our compass, and now we're on step 3 here. So step 3, we need to measure the distance between C and B. So let's go ahead and label this one C up here and B right here. Okay, so those are now points on that line, C and B. We need to measure that distance. I'm going to put... Yeah, right. You want to measure the distance. So put the point on B, and then you want to get this to where the pencil is on C. You want to get that distance on your compass right now. So just make sure the pencil is on C and the point of the compass is on B, so you have that distance. I guess this is why you need a nice firm compass then. So that way when you move the compass down from B down to this intersection here, not on D, you're going to the intersection there. Put the point on this intersection, and now we're going to make another little arc. That's what it's showing here, making an arc, that little arc there. We're going to make an arc right here. Just a little crisscross, so I can see an intersection with those arcs. Now you can move your compass off. The last step is now to take your straight edge, which would be from your protractor, line up point D with that intersection with these arcs. So for mine, I'm going to again I'll use this thing to make my line, my straight edge. So I'm lining it up the D with this right here, close as you can. Do it as accurate as you possibly can. That looks pretty good right there. And then we're going to just draw a line starting at D. So put your pencil now. You can use the pencil of the compass or your own pencil. And then draw your line. And there we copied the angle. Now these angles should be congruent. Okay? They should be the same measure. So let's go ahead and double check what that measure is. Let's take our protractor now and actually use the protractor for what it's really intended for, is measuring angles. And that's why I have this one here. So I'm going to pull this protractor over. We're going to put the center point. Remember, that's where your hole is. The hole in the center of this protractor's got to go on vertex A. So right here. And then this line should be going through 0. So you have your center point on the vertex A, and that this side here is now going through 0 degrees. Where is the other side going through? Can you see on your protractor? You know, you have to see where the arrow is pointing at, and you want to make sure that the numbers are. If you turn it upside down, you got, well, I can't see the numbers; they're all backwards. You turn it turn your protractor where you can see the numbers. And if you put that right there in the center point, where is that arrow pointing at? How many degrees? It's close to 45 when I said that, but it's actually a little bit more. How many? Well, you can see mine, right? Kind of up on the board. There's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, exactly 50 degrees. You should see, or as you see that it's pointing, should be pointing, your arrow should be pointing at the 50 degree. We're talking about the inside numbers, remember? So that's 50 degrees. Bring that protractor now down here and put it on D and see how accurate you were. Is your arrow pointing at 50 degrees on this one? So as you can see, mine is a little off. Mine looks like it's at about 47, maybe. So I was just a hair off there, but again, remember delta math does give us that like 5 degree window. You're okay if you can get it within like 5 degrees, maybe even 10 degrees on sometimes. So if you're getting it to where you're within 5 degrees either way, you're accurate enough for me. Okay, we're just trying to get this as best we can, and you're getting used to these tools. So as long as you can get that within 5 degrees or so. Now, if you're like off by 20 degrees, okay, well, erase it and try to get closer. Try to get a little closer than that. But if you're off about like mine, I'm off a little bit, that's okay. So we should be getting it to be about the same. They should be congruent. So this is 50 degrees here. I'm going to put 50 degrees on this one up here, just so we know. That's what it should be. And let's put a little congruent mark in there. Put a little congruent mark here. So yeah, those are supposed to be congruent because we copied the angle, even though they weren't exactly congruent. But if we were actually needing to do something like this in a real life job, where it mattered that we got it exactly 50 degrees, we would need to not be satisfied with being off by 3 degrees. We would need to make sure we're going to be doing it precisely. Obviously some jobs are going to require precision, otherwise bad things and consequences happen without precision. Think about people or engineers that are building airplanes, that's going to carry hundreds of people in them. They got to be exactly precise in their measurements and their math in order to make sure nobody dies on that plane by making some kind of an error, even if it's like 3 degrees off. That could be a big problem at some point.
Especially on constructions, like the one in the like the construction. They're exactly precise on building the new houses.
Yeah, right over there on the other side, exactly. Okay, we're going to look at this next construction. So we're going to come back. We're going to do this again. Actually, we'll do that right now. So on the obtuse angle that you have below, so I'll go to the next screen here. On this obtuse angle, you're going to do the same thing. We're going to copy this angle. Okay, you can start by checking to see how many degrees it is. You can try that. You can bring your protractor over, measure the angle. See how many degrees is that angle that I got to copy. So try that first and see if you can figure out the number of degrees it is that you have to copy. You can see obviously it's obtuse, it's more than 90, it's between 90 and 180. But then follow those same steps as our middle construction there, which means you're going to just put a point. I'll make some room here. You're going to put a point right over here on the side, right to the right of this obtuse angle. Start with a point over here. So start with that point. And then use your straight edge to draw a straight horizontal line across here. And then start going through the steps then of that construction, where you're going to have to draw first, put your pointer compass on this angle. We can call this A this time. We can call this point D over here. So put your point on A, and here's where the measurement doesn't matter right now as you first set it up. Your point's got to be on A, and you got to draw an arc so it goes through both sides. And then you do the same thing when you come over here to this point that you've already drawn this. You want to go through this side and go far enough. So this one you got to go past 120. You might want to get closer to even like a semicircle and go about almost 180. You can again spin the paper to help you get a nice smooth angle or a nice smooth arc with your compass. So you want to definitely go past the 120. That's important there. And then you go to that third step where you're going to measure now the distance between the 2 points that you drew on this angle, which would be like point C and B. and get that same distance, hold that distance, so you can come over here and put your point on the intersection you made on this horizontal line, and then make an intersection with the arc that you already made there. Once you got that, you just do that last step of drawing your straight, using your straight edge to draw from D going through that arc, and you should have made an angle with the same measure or close to it as this one. So I'll give you a second to try that on that one down below with the obtuse angle. Again, if you need any tightening on the compass, just bring your compass up so I can tighten it for you.
So make that obtuse like this.
Okay. Well, you need to come all the way across and then do the intersection of the other one too. So you don't just draw the angle. You gotta get it where there's a crisscross, and you're going through that crisscross. Anybody needing any help, just raise your hand if you need some assistance. Yeah, I have the first step already done up there where I put my point D through my straight horizontal line across there. It doesn't matter how long that is, because we're just getting a side there. And you can put an arrow even on the end of that if you want to, that's fine.
Yeah, since the arrows just keep on going.
Mm-hmm.
So the arc is like these.
Yeah, but you want to get the distance then. You went a little too far here. You want to go inside of that. So you can watch how I do it up on the board in a minute, and you'll see what you need to what you really need to do. You should be getting pretty close to getting that angle copied, and then double checking it with your protractor just to see, okay, you can check the angle of this one, and who can tell me how many degrees is this angle that was on your paper already? How many degrees is that? Where does it look like the arrow is pointing at when you use your protractor? How many degrees is this angle A? 120. Thank you. Very good. So that's 120 degrees. So you're trying to check that you're going to get how close you can get here to 120. That will show you how accurate you are with copying this angle. Again, you want to try to get, I'd say, within a 5 degree, either, between 115 to 125. If you get somewhere in that window, that's pretty accurate. You did a fairly good job at copying the angle, which means you probably did all the steps right. That's the main thing here, is getting all the steps done right. So I'll go through these steps just to show you again. So I'm going to put my compass at A, and again, I want to be inside. I don't want to get the edges there. So Eduardo, you went to the edges of the arrows. You don't need to do that. You want to get inside of that. So I'm just going to go inside here so I can see where that intersects there. But here's where I got to keep that same distance, and I want to bring that point over to D. And right now I'm below my line, so that's good. I want to go up above it so I can get that copied, but I want to keep going further and further, almost a semicircle, because I got to go at least 120. So I want to go far enough. So I went all the way out this way.
So Just the inside?
Yeah, on the inside, right? And then you can use that same distance with your compass on this one. Okay, so once I have that, now I can say, well, if this is my B and C points, when we said C might be up here and B down here, that's fine. It doesn't really matter, but that's what I think it said on there. We want to put, I'm putting my point of my compass, let's see, on B, and then getting the pencil on C. So I'm getting that distance. And we got to get the distance together. That's pretty close right there. So point is on B, pencil is on C, and that right there is where the accuracy is going to come in. If you get that, the exact distance, you should be able to be getting your angle copied definitely within a few degrees. Let's see. Oops. Notice what did I do wrong there? I put my point on my D. Don't do that. Put your point on the intersection right here. So I got to put the point of my compass over here. Yes. Yeah, I started to make a mistake. Easy to do that. That's where now point was on B. Our point's got to be on this same intersection here. That way I can now see where this is going to be at. So there's my crisscross there. There's my intersection point. And now just lining it up with the ruler. And again, here's another thing of accuracy of lining this up. The more accurate I line this up, the more accurate I will be with being within a few degrees. There we go. It's fairly close there. I'm getting closer. That's about right there. I'm always a little bit off when I'm doing it on this screen here, but you guys get the idea. So there it is. That's, again, it should be close. We can double check. It should be 120 with this one. It should be close to 120. So let's see. Don't know if I'm on that exactly. Right there. So I'm actually a little off on that one. I might want to try that again because that's a little further off than I wanted to be. I'm about 115, you know, so but that's basically what you're trying to do. Try to get within that 5 degrees, you know, window. So that was a little bit off. I was a little bit short on that. And that's just because my tools are a little harder to work with. I've probably been more accurate on paper, but let's move forward. Okay, so now we're looking at bisecting an angle. We're going to look at this one that already has a protractor on it. This problem over here. We are going to start with, things are on the way here. Come on. Grab and move. There we go. Okay, so we're going to start with this angle here. It's angle O, or AOB, that angle right there. You can see it's a 140-degree angle. It's obtuse. First thing we want to do is get basically that step that we already did on copying the angle, where we have to find C and B, okay? Which they already put an A and a B on here. But let's just draw this anyway. So I'm going to put my point of my compass on O, right there at the vertex. I'm going to line up with A here. Put my pencil on A. Try to get that as accurate as I can onto A. Okay, that looks pretty good there. Alright, and now I just want to draw an arc. Red would be better. Red there. Draw an arc. It should go through B, if I'm accurate enough with my pencil, because A and B are the same distance away. So it wasn't quite there, but it was pretty close. You can get yours probably better. You want to try to hopefully get through B. That would show an accuracy using the compass, that you put your point on O and pencil on A precisely. You should go right through B. That's the very first thing to do. Now the next thing, you use your compass and you're going to put the point on either A or B. It doesn't matter. I'll just put it on A right now. And here's where you got to shorten it up a little bit. You need to shorten that up a bit. Now well, actually you don't need to shorten it up. It doesn't matter the distance you go. And actually let's do it actually longer, I think, because that way we can see it outside here. So let me make this a little longer so I can go outside the protractor. Okay, so we're still within this big obtuse angle, and I want to draw an arc up here. Just draw an arc. You can go even down into here. Long enough though, because I need it to intersect. I got to maintain that same distance, and now put the point on B and try to make a crisscross here with these arcs, which I can see it right there. Now 140 degrees, what is half of 140? 70. So we should, as we draw this line, it should go through 70 degrees. If it's going through 70, it's going to be very accurate, exactly accurate and precise. But again, you want to try to get it really close. So try to get yours to go through 70 degrees. So line up O with your straight edge and this crisscross here. O and the crisscross. And then you draw it. That looks fairly good. It's about there. Looks right. So start at O and then just draw a ray right up through it. I was a little off on that crisscross. I didn't get through the crisscross. Let me try that again. This is always hard to match up here with this thing. Let's go that way a little bit. Go for a blue. That's a little better. And yeah, it goes through. Mine's going pretty close through 70 degrees. So that's what I want. That's the angle bisector. We can put an arrow on that if we want to. Showing that's the angle bisector right there. That this right here, we could put a little congruent marks here. And make sure they're a little off though, right, of each other. That's congruent to that. They're both exactly 70 degrees. 70 degrees on each side. So 70 on this side and 70 on this side. That's an angle bisector. Okay, we're going to go back up to the acute angle that we saw in this one here. So this angle A that was acute, we're going to do an angle bisector to this one. So now step number one's already been done. We already got the C and the B. We already got that done. So we just got to do step 2 and 3, which was back here. Oops, that was too far away. So step 2 and 3 was to get the crisscross there and then draw that bisector through. So that's all we got to do here now. Step 1's already done for us. So take our compass, remember we're trying to put the point on either C or B. It doesn't matter which one you start with. I start with C up here. Point on C. I just got to bring that into the interior. There's my interior part of this angle. And then do a crisscross there. You might want to make it long enough just to make sure that you will get an intersection when you do it with B. Then I'll bring that same distance down on to put the point on B and do a crisscross there. And there I see it. There's my intersection with the crisscross. Last step, step number 3, is to take my straight edge, go from A and go through that crisscross, line that up. A through that intersection. And we said that this was 50 degrees. So then once you do that, take your protractor and just measure that angle bisector and see that it's 25 degrees. If it's going through close to 25, then you did that correctly. So I line this up here. So A. It's really hard to manipulate with. Never know which way it's going to go. There it goes, that way. That's fairly close. Alright, that looks about right. Going through, lining up with A and my intersection point with this crisscross. And draw this line through. Start at the vertex. Again, it's not going past this way. It's going to stay on the interior, just on the interior of the angle, not on the exterior. Then we can put an arrow on that, and then just use our protractor, bring that back up where we measured 50 degrees here. we want to see that this angle bisector measures 25 or close to it. And mine is about 25. Looks like it's right there in the middle. So I did that accurately. So you just want to double check with your protractor that you measured that accurately. It's going, for you want to see that the arrow of the one you drew is going in between 20 and 30. As long as it's hitting between 20 and 30, then you know you're okay. Again, I'm giving you about 5 degrees there to be accurate. If you're within that 5 degrees spot, 20 to 30 degrees, somewhere in there, then you did this properly. Alright, so we're going to come down to this one here. This obtuse one that was 120, I want you to do the same thing to this one, and you should see it go through 60. So measure it once you finished, once you already got the first step done here. So you got C and B already done. So step number 1 is done. You just need to do the step number 2, which is to take the compass and put it on point on C, make a crisscross out here on the interior, maintain that distance, put the point on B, and intersect that other arc to get that intersection with the arcs. And then you go into step 3 with using your straight edge to go from A through that intersection, and and just measure it that it's 60 degrees, that line is going to go towards 60 degrees. You should be between 55 to 65 degrees, somewhere in that range, and you should be good. That's accurate. So do that to this 120 degree obtuse angle, which was angle ABC down here, this angle A. And then tomorrow we're going to be looking at the constructions on Delta Math. It's already there, so if you wanted to take a look at it tonight, you can. But I'll give you time. I'll go over them with you. The steps are all the same. It's just the tools will be a little bit different. When you use the compass tool on Delta Math, that'll look a little bit different. So that's the only difference there. But I wanted to give you a chance to actually use the real compass and protractor and get some experience using these. Again, you should have your name at the top of this paper, and you don't want to lose that. Make sure you have it tomorrow, because as you're working on Delta Math, you'll have this on your desk. I'll come and check them, that they're complete. So don't lose it, because that means you'll lose your points for what you did today. So I'll give you your points for today, tomorrow when you're doing the Delta Math. So again, I'll just show you this one real quick before we go. Just point would be going to C. This is what you should have on here. And then you want to go inside here and make a crisscross inside here. Oops. Blue. Ah. There we go. Blue there. And maintain that distance, come over to B, and you just want to be able to hit that. There's where it's hitting right there. And then you line it up with your straight edge. And just double check with the protractor that it measures 60 degrees here. That's all. I just need to make sure. 60 on each side, or within that 5 degrees, and you'll be fine. If it's way off, then you want to just fix it. But yeah, mine's going through really fast there. I did it pretty quick. I was actually pretty accurate on that one. 60 degrees. So 60s on each side of these. 60 on each side. Alright, if you are finished with everything that we just did, then you can begin to put your protractor and compass back in those boxes. If it needs tightening, you can bring it over to my desk so that I can tighten it for the next period.